Let's try to build a realistic habitat for the Somali Wild Ass, which is a new animal added to Planet Zoo with the newest Arid Animal Pack. We'll be building this habitat in the Elm Hill City Zoo, of course, and adding it to our African section. The new habitat will be located next to the scimitar horned oryxes and also the black wildebeest and the plain zebra. The whole African section is coming along so nicely, and I really hope you guys will enjoy today's habitat. So without further ado, let me show you how I've built all that. Hi guys, this is Caesar Creates, and welcome back to my channel. I am finally back with another Planet Zoo video. I know that a lot of you guys have been waiting for this, and yes, today we'll be adding a new animal from the Arid Animal Pack to the Elm Hill City Zoo, and this is actually one of my favorites from this pack, the Somali Wild Ass. In my opinion, this might be one of the best animals, best designed animals in the game right now. I love its model, I love the animations, and I really wanted to add it to our zoo. So after I added the porcupines last time, by the way, thank you for all the amazing comments under this video. You guys really loved it, so I was so happy to see that. I already knew that I wanted to add the wild ass next, but I needed to find a proper space for it in our zoo. And I had to come up with some idea on what I want to build for them. So my initial idea was actually to put them somewhere next to the Przewalski wild horse that we've built for like quite a long time ago. I think it was like a year ago or something. And for the Przewalski wild horse, I did like stable with those paddocks, like typical thing that you'll have for the horses. And I thought that it would make sense to like extend this area and add the Somali Wild Ass, which is basically a donkey, so it is in the same family as a horse, next to it to create like this like a bit more like equestrian a section of our zoo or anything like that, but it didn't quite work to put it next to the Przewalski wild horse and next to the raccoons, because the raccoons are also in this section, so I just didn't feel that, so I deleted all of those things that I started there, and I decided that I probably should add them just in our African section that we are building from some time in our zoo. We are adding one enclosure here and there and then coming back here, and you know, this is quite a process to build this, but I had this really nice spot that I intended for another animal. Actually, I thought about adding the sable antelopes in this spot, but I decided to change my plans a bit, and I added them next to the scimitar horned oryx and opposite to the zebra and the blue wildebeest habitat. And I of course think that this makes more sense because we have an African animal in an actual African section next to the another desert animal, which is the scimitar horned oryx, and next to another animal from the horse family, which is of course the zebra. So this spot for the Somali Wild Ass is actually just perfect. I'll of course show you in the cinematic shots by the end of the video. I will do a shot from like the above, from the sky, so you can actually see where this habitat is positioned in our zoo. By the way, talking about the cinematic shots and the things, like the cinematic things, I'm so enjoying making those new intros with the new camera modes that were added in the last update. I think that this is such an amazing way of introducing you guys to the build that we'll be, you know, creating in a certain episode. So I really love making those, and I saw that many other content creators are also using this in the intros of their videos. So now everyone has a perfect intro to their videos, and I love this. So what I want to do in today's video is, of course, talk about the habitat, about the inspirations and so on, talk about the Somali Wild Ass, because I think that this is such an incredible animal that is really worth talking about, and also talk a bit about my schedule of future videos, because you guys seem to be a bit concerned about this, why I am gone, why I'm not uploading, so I would also like to talk more about that, and what else? There are some news regarding Planet Zoo, so we'll also talk about this topic. Very exciting news, so I just want to hear your opinions and share some news about with you. So this is what we will do today. So if you guys have been following this series for a while, you know that the two enclosures that we have next to this enclosure that we are building today are heavily inspired by the enclosures from the Berlin Zoo. I mean the enclosure for the scimitar horned oryx and the one for the zebra and the wildebeest, especially the shelters and their like theming, their style and so on. This is really inspired by Berlin. But there are not many more enclosures in Berlin in this style with those white buildings and so on. So this time I had to improvise a bit because of course I wanted to make this enclosure cohesive with those that are next to it, so it all looks like a proper area that is supposed to be built at the same time in a zoo that has those buildings that are in this similar style, basically that are inspired by the North Africa, because I think that this is something that they went for. They're a bit like Arabic, a bit like, you know, Moroccan maybe, something like this. But yeah, this is what I also wanted to create here. So I wanted to create a shelter like this, not using any reference image, just being inspired by the ones that we already did. So this is what we'll do at the end of the video, but this is what I knew that I wanted here. I also wanted a mode because it will be a continuation of the mode that we already did for the scimitar horned oryx. And then I just went with the flow. I had some issues with this habitat, of course, as I always do. The inspiration was not always there, so that's why you had to wait a bit for this video. I had several of those evenings that I just opened the game and I just looked at it and I said to myself, okay, this is not the day to do it. This is not the flow is just not here. So let's just, you know, close the game and go back to it when I will have more like inspiration, when I will have some ideas and so on. Because as I always say, I don't want to like release something that I don't feel like is my best work just to release a video. So that's why you guys had to wait a bit more. Also, of course, it's summertime, so I am enjoying my time outside. We have a really nice weather in here where I live, so I'm often meeting my friends. I was also in Switzerland, in Zurich, for a couple of days for my really good friend's birthday, and we also visited the Zurich Zoo. So if you haven't seen that, the tour around the Zurich Zoo is on my Instagram account. The link is down in the description. And I also released a short here on YouTube with you know, short overview of the zoo. But I must say that I really loved it. If someone is watching from Switzerland, I am so jealous of you that you have such a pretty and amazing zoo. And the plans for the future are just amazing. If they will actually build those things that I plan to build, this might be one of the best zoos in Europe. So yeah, it was amazing. I love the elephant house, I love the Madagascar house, I love the savannah section. It was so pretty, and I got to feed the giraffes. So for me that was like an absolute highlight of the entire visit. Okay, but coming back, so yeah, I'm just, you know, busy with my summertime. I'm also working a bit, so and the inspiration wasn't there. Those are the reasons why you guys had to wait. I hope that from now on I'll be uploading a bit more frequently. We'll see about that, but yeah, those were the reasons. But coming back to the habitat, so of course I had an idea to add my favorite rock walls from the stalagmite pieces that I'm using a lot lately, but I just said to myself, maybe I'm using them a bit too much because I am using them basically on my recent habitats. So why not try to change something? But I still try to incorporate them a bit. I remember that when I've built, when I did my guest build for the Saint Reginald Zoo, Eben, Wyatt, and Goran, they sent me some inspiration on how they see the habitats from different zoos and so on, and they've sent me some habitats. I think that they were from Lincoln Park Zoo, which is a zoo in Chicago, where I think it was a zebra habitat or something like that. I don't remember, I just had it in my mind that there were some of the rock formations in the back, and there were also those like really pale wooden logs. So I thought that this is maybe something that will be suiting for a desert animal like Somali Wild Ass, that it will look nice and will suit and fit into this section of our zoo. So I decided to go for something like that. So I always start my videos, I start my builds basically with the boundaries of the habitat. So firstly I did the moat. I added some dirt and some plants inside of the moat, so it sort of looks like it's just overgrown over time with different plants. Those plants were not planted by the keepers or anyone, they just, you know, grew there. So I wanted to make it a bit more messy. I also added those small rocks on the edge of the moat. This was super inspired by the Berlin Zoo. I also added those rocks to the scimitar horned oryx, and also this is another reason why you had to wait for this episode, because I besides doing this habitat, I also improved a bit the habitat for the scimitar horned oryx. So I basically added the things that were added to the game over time, like the new grasses, like the new plants. I also added those rocks on the edge and different decals and stuff like that. So it all looks more cohesive with each other. I mean, those three habitats that we have in here. So after doing the moat, I did the rock formations in the back. I added those logs, and I added some fences that we had in the zoo that I actually created for the emus and the wallabies quite some time ago. And I thought that they just work in here for an animal like a Somali Wild Ass. And after that, I of course added a lot of different rocks and different logs and different plants to this habitat. There are not too many, like there are some Somali Wild Ass habitats from zoos that I've seen online. I actually saw them live because we have them here in Poland in Warsaw Zoo, but the Warsaw Zoo habitat for them is so plain and boring that it wasn't inspiring at all. But when I was looking at their habitats online, I saw that there are always a lot of logs, that they have some rock formations, and the habitats are basically more dry. There are some bushes and stuff like that, nothing too like over the top. So this is what I went for in here. Of course, I added quite maybe a bit too much plants, but I always like to add them because they add, you know, just more like this natural touch to the habitat. It just looks better in this game, so that's why I decided to add them. I also added some trees for them for some shadow so that they can hide from the guests a bit, and I added the same planters that we did in this section. So the planters using the steel mesh barriers. This is then an easiest way of making, no, sorry, not the planters, what I'm even talking about, those are the guards for the trees. So I just use the barriers to make this small circle and just place them where the tree grows, and this is super easy and, you know, so quick to do. So what I also did was add some custom things that I often see in the habitats for their own ungulates. So I added like a wooden shading structure that I actually finished building a second ago. So if you'll see like a typical ungulate enclosure, there's often something like this in here, and this is basically to give those animals a bit more shadow so they can lay in there if their stables are closed. So, you know, if it's a really hot and sunny day, they can rest from the sun a little bit. I also did some custom feeders in there, and I added some hay bedding so they can actually go there and lay if they want to. to. I also created my own custom feeder that you can see me building right now. It looks amazing in the end. I really love it. It is not at the level that Leader would do it because he has those amazing feeders on the workshop that you guys can all download, but I still love it. I think that this is something that we are missing so much in the game, because this is a typical ungulate feeder that you'll see, and if it would be functional, if the animals could actually go there and eat from that, that would be just amazing. But it is added for the looks, and it looks amazing, so why not build something like that for those animals? And it was actually inspired by one of the feeders that I saw for the Somali Wild Ass from one of the zoos. I don't know which one because I've just lost this link, but yeah, I saw it somewhere, so I decided simply to recreate that. Later on, I will add some details to the entire habitat. I will add more logs, I will add some grass, I will also add decals on the ground for some added texture. I actually forgot about the decals, and you guys will see me lifting the entire grass from this habitat, because it is basically impossible to add them with using the align to the surface tool where if you have the grass in the habitat, because it will just, you know, not align to the ground, it will just align to the grass. It's all mass, so I had to lift the grass up and add the decals. And I will also add some enrichment items for those lovely animals, and later on I will actually build a shelter. The shelter is my own creation, of course inspired by the shelter that we did previously, but I wasn't using any references image or anything like that. I knew that I wanted to have a sort of like a tower in there, because all those shelters had some towers, but it was all just my idea. And I won't be showing you the interior in the speed build. You will be able to see that in the cinematic shots of this video. I just did my typical stalls from those guys, so they can sleep in there, being separated, so they can have some privacy and so on. Just a typical horse stable. And then we'll do a holding pen at the end of the video, so if something that animals can be separated, they can be closed in there, if the habitat is maintained, and so on, just as always. Okay, so this is basically, I think, all that we'll do in this video. We'll also add some like plants on the top of the rock formation, so it looks more like nice and more just natural. So yeah, let's talk about the Somali Wild Ass right now. I am so happy that this animal was actually added to the game, because it was so high on my wish list. If you will watch the wish list that I uploaded several months ago before the tropical pack came out, you'll see it there. It was included in the wish list. Actually, some people watch it now and they don't realize that I uploaded it like several months ago, and they leave comments like, don't you realize that this and this animal is already in the game? Like, and I'm like, yeah, I do, but look at the date of publishing this video. So yeah, some people just don't pay attention to that, and that's always super funny to me. But yeah, coming back, the Somali Wild Ass is a beautiful animal. It is an ancestor of the domesticated donkey that lives in Africa. They actually live in the rocky desert of Eastern Africa, and they would lay in the shadow throughout the majority of the day, because it is simply too hot in the places where they live. So they are more active, they are more grazing in the afternoon and evening and in the early morning hours. They are of course herbivores, but they are used to eating very like tough plant material like scrub bark and tough desert plants. Because of the lack of food, they will often leave alone, because you know, it's easier to find the food for one individual than the whole family. But when there is a wet season, when there is more food because the rain is coming, so the plants are growing, they will form bigger groups, because basically there is plenty of food, so they can socialize a little bit. So the Somali Wild Ass is actually one of the two subspecies of the African wild asses. There's also a Nubian wild ass. They all have the bursty upright manes like zebras. Zebras are actually their close relatives. They have gray body, white belly, spiky black and gray mane, and a unique black and white stripes on their legs that also hint of their family connections to the zebras. Their short, smooth coat has a purplish hue when the light hits just right. They have small, narrow hooves that help them to move quickly and safely through the stony habitats, and they are said to be very intelligent and have an excellent vision and hearing. Unfortunately, they are critically endangered. We actually don't know how many there are left in the wild. Like the Zoopedia, for example, says that it's between 20 and 200, I think. And the reason why they are actually critically endangered is the political unrest, the competing with the herds of domestic animals for land and water sources, poaching, and general lack of concern for the welfare. Unfortunately, they are also hunted for food for their skins, and they are used in traditional medicines, which is just cruel. And with them having such low numbers, something like a drought can simply be enough to wipe out the entire population that is now in the wild. Compared to their population in the wild, there are actually quite a lot of them living in zoos. This is still not a big number, but compared to the population in the wild, the zoos are actually, doing their breeding programs, trying to reintroduce them in the wild. But this will be a hard process, especially that their natural habitats are taken by the herds of domesticated animals, and also that they are hunted for, and also that they actually mate with the domesticated donkeys, which is very, very bad for the gene pool and so on. So yeah, I'm very happy that Planet Zoo added this animal, because I hope that people will get to know it better, that they will know their story and they will actually care. I know that Planet Zoo won't change the minds of the entire planet, but still, if some people will learn about them and learn how that they are so endangered that in several years we might not be able to see them anymore, this is actually scary and sad. So let's keep that in mind while adding those animals to our zoos. Okay, but let's talk about something more happy, more pleasant, about the future of Planet Zoo. I don't know if you've seen the newest video by Leaf. I actually just finished watching it before recording this voiceover. So basically, after the recent update, he found something in the game files. By the way, Frontier fixed the black rhino, and I'm super happy about this, and I'm so glad that they actually listened to the community, because the black rhino was actually a copy of the white rhino when it comes to their posture and their way of movement, and they actually have slightly different, their head is a bit higher, they also walk in a different way, and they fixed that. So that is quite amazing that they actually they just listen to us, and they get the feedback from us, and I'm always super happy to see that. But in this update actually added something to the game files, and we now Lee found it, that we can now find something cool in the game files, and this is basically that we'll get 2 more DLCs at least. So we'll get the DLC number 15 and 16 probably in this year still, and we'll also have an anniversary update. So there are at least 2 more DLCs coming and something new for the anniversary. So I hope I'm super happy and excited about this, because every time the new DLC comes out, I am a bit scared that this might be a last one. But I am so hopeful that this will still not be the end, that we'll have the support throughout the next year as well. But of course we have to see. But I'm super happy that there are at least 2 more DLCs coming, and I am very curious about what they can simply include in the game, what they will add, and maybe you guys have some ideas on what is coming to the game, what should be added. Of course, we all want birds, we all want the aquatic animals and so on, but I'm not keeping my hopes this high. I am still wishing for something like a Highlands pack with takin, with gelada and animals like this. I'm also wishing for something like Islands Pack with kiwi, with the Tasmanian devil. I really want some waterfall, so I know ducks, swans, and animals like that, like birds like this, will be amazing. So yeah, there's so many, and also smaller monkeys like tamarins and other monkeys like that. That will also be so cool to have. Yeah, there's so many possibilities where they can go, and I am so happy that we'll get at least 2 more DLCs. Yay! So when it comes to the Elm Hill City Zoo, we will continue to work on this African section in several more episodes. So I definitely want to add the addax because I just love this antelope, and I also want to add the dama gazelle in here. I will also add the dromedary camel quite soon, and I will actually have something very cool prepared for those guys. So this is what we'll do in the nearest future, I think. And then we'll probably add the sandcat. I have a really cool idea for the sandcat, so I cannot wait to do it. And I don't think that we'll build for the black rhino right now. I really wanted to add it, but I don't have an idea. Maybe you guys have an idea for me where I should add it, but we already have a white rhino, and I don't know too many zoos that have both of the species of rhinos. Like, this is a bit... a lot of rhinos in one zoo, so I'm still considering if we should add them or not, but I will think about it and will let you know if I will come up with something. If not, after the sandcat, we'll probably go back to the reptile house and finish it. And of course, there are more episodes coming when it comes to the desert adventure park. So this is the plan for the nearest future, and I'll also build for the Valby City Zoo like very soon. By the way, have you guys seen the newest additions by the Haribo to the Valby City Zoo? Oh my god, my jaw was simply on the floor when I was watching this. This is one of the best things that I ever saw in Planet Zoo, so you should definitely watch that. And okay, on that note, I think that we should end today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are happy that we finally have the Somali Wild Ass in the Elm Hill City Zoo. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please consider to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. Give this video a big thumbs up down below, and of course leave me a nice comment if you enjoyed today's video. If you like to support the channel a little bit extra, you can do it with the join button down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!